Getting started. We have a very full agenda, so we need to get going. The first item of business is the first item of business is we should move directly to approving the minutes from the last meeting. Let me ask the members of the council if anyone has any changes to propose. If not, may I have a motion to adopt the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, the motion passes. All right, let's go on now. The first agenda item that we have is called How a Community is Embracing Generation Texas and Closing the Gaps. And we have a report from folks in San Antonio. And are the people here yet? Okay. Would you all come forward, to those of you that are participating for agenda item number 4? Hey, Marty, we have a tight timeline,
Absolutely.
so I think you've been told that we need to hold this conversation to 15 minutes. So, but I know that there are exciting things going on in San Antonio, so we're looking forward to your presentation. Would you introduce yourself?
Absolutely.
And begin?
Yes. I'm Maria Aguirre Rodriguez. I had the privilege of being the executive director of Generation Texas San Antonio, which is the state's first sort of nonprofit to support this issue. So I'll go right to my presentation so we use the time wisely. So our theory is, what if an entire community came together and decided that college was the most important thing? And what if that were our community? And what if Generation Texas San Antonio was that movement? So today in San Antonio, I've gathered some data in partnership with our incredible partners at HEB that gives an idea, sort of a landscape of the lay of the land in San Antonio, which is obviously that we have challenges. And I'll talk a little bit more about what our mayor's doing to address those challenges, but we feel very positive about these. This is our baseline. We know that in 10 years, we're going to be somewhere different. And so we have 4 programs that will address those issues. Our first one is a marketing campaign, which has been in partnership with 2 really godfathers of marketing, Lionel Sosa and Ernest Bromley, who have an idea around a message of inspiration and information for students. Our second program, which has really become our keystone project, is called SA Ready. And it's a project creating a curriculum for college and career-ready students all across San Antonio, and we hope eventually one day for all the students of Texas. Our second program is Grassroots Events, which is taking the fun events that kids like to attend and making them a little bit more scalable. And our last one is the idea of creating a college-going cluster, a feeder pattern of schools who would focus solely on creating a college-going culture. All of those leading up to creating a college-going culture in San Antonio. So the fact is that students spend over 7 hours each day watching television, movies, playing games, listening to music. And what would happen if students just spent 10 minutes of those times daily learning about college and careers? What would that kind of change mean for classes? And a lot of that's already happening. So we have an idea based around David Conley's book, College and Career Ready, that takes his 4 key dimensions, key cognitive strategies, the content knowledge, key contextual skills that used to be named college knowledge, which is a pretty famous theory he has, and the key academic behaviors, and create a curriculum around that. And so our idea is based off of his book is to write a curriculum off of it. It'd be a pre-K through 12 expertise model, so taking what great districts are doing and frankly bottling it up and sharing it so that other districts can learn from great curriculum that teachers are already doing, and then adding high quality lesson plans. And really our focus with this is to enter more students into AP and pre-AP classes more prepared, more successfully, and with higher passage rates. We feel that is an incredibly scalable way to send more Texans to college, and we intend to do AP better in San Antonio. We don't do it well today. We're not shy about admitting that, but we feel like this is a real rigorous way to get them on that path. It's all teacher developed. We have over 35 teachers today writing curriculum that is being evaluated daily by EPIC Research and Dr. Conley and his team. They then give it a rubric scoring, and those teachers are then given an opportunity to go back and forth with his staff to decide what would they do to make the curriculum more rigorous, what would be more hitting to the 4 dimensions, but also what's exciting to the CCRS. And that has been really helpful for these teachers. An added benefit that we didn't expect is that they don't have the tools for the CCRS readily available to them all the time, and they see this as an incredible tool for them. So they've become a resource for their campus, almost like a CCRS expert for their campuses. It's a pilot program of 5 districts, and we've shared with every single district, here's what we think the participation benefits are. The teachers are compensated. It's professional development. We, in fact, had a one-day session that Dr. Conley led, linking the 4 dimensions of college and career readiness to the CCRS, and every single teacher walked out of there saying, I wish my entire campus could have had access to that, because it was so beneficial and it was implementable skills that they use the next day. We also feel like it's increased college readiness in the entire pipeline of schooling from elementary, middle, and high school. We have Avance, our early childhood program in San Antonio, who's interested in piloting a 3- and 4-year-old curriculum, which excites me deeply because I keep thinking about what do you talk to a 3- and 4-year-old about college, and what that could look like is very exciting. And it also creates, most excitingly, a repository of college and career ready plans reviewed by EPIC, the nation's expert in college and career readiness. So we've got 5 districts who are currently piloting this program: Floresville, Northside, Southwest, San Antonio, and Harlandale. We will add 6 more districts next year if we don't have several more jump ship to come in early. We've got some superintendents from both South San and Southside who are wanting to come in a little early because they need the resources. So we're working on that. And our goal is, as you can see, that over the next year we will produce 100 college and career ready lessons that will be free, readily available to any teacher across Texas. We'll post them online. We paid for them. It's good stewardship of our dollars. Next year we'll have almost 400, and the year after that we'll have close to 800 lesson plans that the entire state of Texas can use. So they're all approved and rigorous lesson plans. So that's SA Ready. Our next program is grassroots events, and it's this idea is, what if a community created one calendar for all college and career events, and every higher ed institution, every nonprofit, every ISD, to ensure that that message, there were one message, just one message per month. So we've come up with what we call the Seasons of College, and HEB actually helped us design this. They have a similar way that they think about retailing. And so they said, why wouldn't you think of college the same way as you do about retailing? You're trying to sell a message to a consumer, so why not think about this? So this is what we've come up with, is that every single month, it's very seasonal. Obviously in November and December, we're talking about applying to college. And in January, February, and March, we're talking about completing the financial aid forms. And in June and July, we have the time to explore careers and internships. So every month is a different theme, but the entire community now has fallen behind this, and our mayor has said, any nonprofit who's doing work in January is going to talk about financial aid that month. You need to use your best services, your best practice in that space to talk to kids so that parents and students understand what's going on that month and why it's important, so that we don't send out confused messages to students who are already so confused. So our last project is the College Going Cluster, and it's a very simple idea, is how do you teach kindergartners to set college as a goal for themselves? What begins to happen? And when you look at this generation of Texans, the 5-year-olds in class today, we need them to be better, and it's on us to provide that. So our idea is pretty simple, is establish a feeder pattern in Bexar County, an elementary, a middle, and a high school, who will be excellent college and career ready campuses, but very focused. There's a lot of models for this. The Harlem Children's Zone is one of the most famous at this point, as well as the Apollo Project in Houston. So we're in the phase right now where we're studying. This project will be done with HEB. They funded this project and are very excited about partnering and looking at San Antonio ISD, which is a district that has had challenges, but we feel is ripe and ready for a new opportunity to try something very innovative and creative. So these are the programs that will go into that cluster, ranging from PSAT, SAT preparation for every single student who wants it and cannot afford it. We will pay for AP classes for any child in that cluster of schools. Teachers will be highly trained. We've got a shortage of teachers who are AP certified, who are dual credit certified. We want to make sure that they don't have that. We remove those barriers so that we can have more students who are exposed. And so our vision, and this is the vision that our incredible mayor, who has made education his #1 priority for the next, the rest of his term, is that by 2020, San Antonio has orchestrated one of the greatest turnarounds in education in the United States, which, when you think, is an incredibly audacious plan, but also very exciting. And he feels very strongly that Generation Texas San Antonio is a key partner in orchestrating that. And when we showed him this slide of this is what a college-going community would look like, is a curriculum that every single kid in Bexar County has access to, grassroots events that are not confused but are very focused, a college-going cluster, and a marketing campaign that has TV, radio, outdoor. To us, that looks like a college-going community. And that's exactly, we know it's audacious, we know it's not been done before, but we're incredibly excited about the opportunity to do something like this, but not lose rigor, but to focus on that very clearly to ensure that both teachers and students have access to the tools that they need. That's Generation Texas.
Wow. Questions, comments, please, members?
Thank you, Mr. Flores.
This, as all of you know, these meetings are webcast. I would urge the people that are watching this on the web would think about implementing something like this in their own communities. I've been tracking this kind of activity all over the country. I don't know of anything that is this ambitious and this comprehensive in a city this large. This is remarkable.
Well, the coordinating board is a huge piece of that. I mean, were it not for the support from the coordinating board, Generation Texas would have never begun. And so now we feel like we've had an incredible benefactor who supported us the entire first year. And now we have our sea legs about us. We're doing projects that are going to push the limit because the students of Texas deserve this and need this. We must be innovative, we must be creative, and we have to try things like curriculum, which is sort of a scary word when you think about it, but it's really not. And this is actually the tools that teachers are so excited about. Professional development led by the nation's expert, reviewed lesson plans at a higher level than they get reviewed today. They're thrilled by this, and it's very encouraging.
Are the lesson plans K through 12?
They are K through 12, every subject area. Science, math, English. We have one district who wants to do all science next year. And he's going to do them in a team approach so that the entire elementary, middle, and high school team work together, and they would get an incentive for the collaboration through all 3 grade levels.
I absolutely commend you. I think this is wonderful. We had done a college recruitment fair in San Antonio and was blown away by the turnout. So the desire is there,
Yes.
The demand is there, but the resources haven't been brought together in a way like this. And you can see that the parents, that these kids may be first generation, who haven't gone through filling out a FAFSA before, who haven't gone through this process, can really use this kind of help. So I think it's outstanding.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Yeah, I would urge this is something that we should take to the large cities in Texas and replicate this with the individual characteristics of the different cities taken into account. But this is really extraordinary. I would think that Dallas and Houston in particular would be interested in this. I think the chambers of commerce would be interested in seeing this implemented. So I hope. I was saying to David that this is that I'm sure we could inject some components regarding healthy living and
Absolutely.
good nutrition and so forth, because that's very central to doing well in school. So I'm sure that
Absolutely.
that would be another resource for you. Any other questions or comments?
My only question is, to what extent are you interfacing with school guidance counselors in this model? I mean, that's so key. And I've seen, unfortunately, too many instances where some guidance counselors have dissuaded a student from going to college. I've got plenty of stories from people telling me they were told they couldn't make it or couldn't do it and then decided they'd do it themselves. So that's going to be a critical component, and that is working with them.
Yeah, we actually are also piloting for the Texas High School Project a college access network provider. So you see that collaboration is happening in a very interesting and special way in San Antonio. So we're piloting that for the state right now. And guidance counselors have begun their own one-off group. So they are now meeting. Every guidance counselor, every director of guidance and counseling is meeting in San Antonio regularly. And we go to them as our focus group to approach them to say, what's going on here? We're doing the same thing with data, district directors of data. So we're beginning to build really cohesive collaborative circles where we use those to get the feedback that we need to say, are we on the right track? We don't want to build a curriculum that costs a good amount of money and does anybody no good. This has got to have feedback from the community.
On the other side, of course, you can't paint with a broad brush in education. On the other side, I've seen guidance counselors who go over and above.
Absolutely.
I mean, with my own kids, I mean, I'm still getting emails, and my kids have graduated. I'm still getting emails from the guidance counselor saying these scholarships are available, new scholarships are available. So those kind of practices are wonderful.
Yeah, focused message. It's got to be focused.
Yeah.
I just want to say that I happened to watch Waiting for Superman last night, and I know that you all probably, have seen it a long time ago. But, I just thought, how is it that we, in our communities can't do better by our kids than what we're currently doing? And, I think you all have found the answer, so I
But we're
really commend
hoping.
you.
We're going to give it a shot. I
Well-
think it's worth it.
Yes, it's very exciting.
Yes, thank
May
you.
I ask about parental involvement, how you're working with parents and parent organizations?
Yes, definitely. In fact, we have a couple parents who started a Gen Expert Council of Parents, and those parents want to go in a way that would go talk to other parents about the challenges. And what we're working on actually with Milkshake is taping those messages so that then we can scale that, because a lot of this work is difficult to scale. It's expensive. So what we're trying to do is what can video do in that, but also how can those parents become facilitators and trainers for others in other communities? And I'm particularly interested. I get a call every week from another community saying, how can we do this? Can you teach us? Can you show us? And I'm particularly interested in spending more and more of my time coming to all of your communities, spending time there saying, here's our best practice. Here's how we've documented. Here's the white paper and case study that we've built around it. Begin to use it, and it's free. It's yours. I'm very interested in doing all of that kind of work. So yes, parents are a huge piece of this, and we all know that they can be a barrier or an incredible addition to a student's college or career plans.
I'm sure you saw the article in the Texas Tribune, I think it was about 10 days ago, that pointed out that San Antonio is now on an equal economic footing with Houston and Dallas, and it's an economic, becoming an economic powerhouse that will profoundly affect the future of Texas. And clearly this program will be instrumental in achieving the full potential that San Antonio clearly has. Pleased that you're emphasizing workforce development and careers as well as academic programs. Sometimes Commissioner Scott and I get accused of only emphasizing baccalaureate education, but I want to underscore that we recognize that careers are every bit as important as academic training. So we're very pleased to learn about your attention to that issue. I think I'm speaking for all the members of this council that if we can help in any way, DARS, Health and Human Services, with the Chambers of Commerce, Urban League, organizations like that, I'm sure would be happy to help in any way we can to strengthen your community effort and involve even more organizations than you currently have.
Well, don't worry, I'm going to come and follow up on that request. So we're not shy about it in San Antonio.
Good.
Thank you.
Wonderful presentation, extraordinarily promising program. It's something, as I say, we need to emulate all over the state.
We're happy to help do that.
I think this is the next iteration beyond P-16 councils.
That's what I think so too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. And today was a big day for San Antonio. We announced that we're building the largest solar really company creation in the United States. So that will require not just 4-year degrees, that's going to require certificate programs, 2-year degrees, it's going to require everything. And that's exactly the kind of work that we want all of our kids to be prepared for that workforce demand that's completely innovative and new, but that we prepared them for that.
Is the Urban League involved with you?
Not in San
No, not in San Antonio. Our chambers are very active though.
You're right. The closest one is Austin,
Yep.
but not San
You
Antonio.
never know.
But
We could talk.
there it is. Yes, we can.
Great. Well, thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity to share our vision and our hopes with you. And please let me know if there's anything I can do. I'll leave cards with Priscilla.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marty. Okay, well, it's very exciting to see this council, as all of you, the members that have been around a while, and even the newer members know that Generation Texas has been an important priority for the coordinating board and for other organizations, but what San Antonio is doing goes way beyond what the coordinating board ever imagined. And you recall we first started talking about this several years ago, Deborah, that this is really,
It's really
these are very significant steps forward, so congratulations. Well, let's go to agenda item number 5. This is an issue that we've talked about as being one of the main priorities for the council this year. How we align education and workforce development more closely than we have in the past. So we're going to have a panel that features employers. So could I invite those individuals to come forward now? One of the things we keep hearing recurrently, and apparently we haven't done a very good, well, I shouldn't say we haven't done a very good job. We haven't done as well as we should in terms of aligning education and workforce. I had a meeting recently with representatives of the Texas Association of Manufacturers who were telling us we're still not getting students from out of programs, whether it's out of high school programs or out of career and technical education programs and community colleges who have the skills that we need, or we have as many people as we need in certain fields. And so one of the goals of the P-16 Council this year is to look at ways in which, once again, we can align the work of the employment sector more closely with the work of education and the affiliated organizations and state agencies that are represented around this table. So this is a way that we thought that we could put together that would enable us to once again understand the issues better, to talk about ways in which we can partner more effectively, and even talk about some pilot programs and so forth. So I don't know if you have any prior consensus about how you want to proceed, or whether you just want to proceed from one end of the table to the other. Is there any? Okay, well, why don't we start off? Why don't you identify yourselves as you comment? Please keep your remarks brief so that we have time to ask questions and discuss the recommendations that you make more fully at the conclusion of your presentations.
Well, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes.
My name is Leslie Pachola. I'm the general manager of the Hilton Austin.
Do you have your mic turned on? I'm not sure that you do.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Excellent. My name is Leslie Pachola. I'm the general manager of the Hilton Austin Convention Center Hotel. 800 rooms. We employ 500 team members. The Downtown Austin Hotel Association has roughly about 7,000 rooms, hotel rooms in downtown Austin, employs 5,000 employees. So it is an ever-growing industry for Austin. It's a great economic engine. There will be a new convention hotel with 1,000 rooms that opens in 2015, which will employ about 800 employees. So we know we're growing as an industry. Currently, our hotel works closely with two of the high schools in Austin, both Bowie High School and Travis, and participate in an internship program where they have a tourism class that interns at the hotel. They work 3 days a week on special projects within the hotel. They get exposure to at least 5 different departments. And it's a way to introduce the service industry to students at all levels. We also work with the ACC Tourism School to promote our industry as a real good career that can take you really anywhere. I started off in this industry working in restaurants in high school. Went to tourism school and started at the front desk checking people in, and today I'm a general manager. So it was really that early introduction into the service industry that got me really excited about being in the field. A couple of things that we look for when we are hiring talent. Really, communication skills is key, that we find bright people that can interact with customers from all over the world with all different needs, all different language skills that they would have. Also, the ability to listen, to speak, reading. Ability to work in a team environment is very important. We have over 20 departments in the hotel, so communication between those departments, coordination, being able to work with large teams is very important. Problem-solving skills, also something that we look for, because we're a very reactionary industry. You are there to solve guest problems. Also, computer skills, very important. Most hotels have proprietary software, so it's very difficult to move from a Marriott to a Hilton to a Holiday Inn. So we are typically training people from ground up on our proprietary software, which keeps our brand strong and develop people that can move throughout the company and throughout the country for us. So we really are looking to bring students in at early ages, to expose them to our industry, to let them know that it is a great industry to be in at all levels. You know, it's an industry that you can work in the HR department, you can work in the kitchen, you can work in finance, you can work in the sales department, catering, events, on and on. There are so many different areas of the hotel, and it provides a really good career for bright students who really want to be in a very interactive environment.
Okay, why don't we go through the entire panel before we take questions or comments? Is that okay with you all? Next, please. Introduce yourself.
Sure. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Luis Patino, and I'm the Senior Vice President for Univision Communications, overseeing about 8 different markets, including San Antonio and Austin here in Texas. So for me, it's really great to be here. Thank you for having us. We're pretty familiar with you all through a partnership that we actually already have with the coordinating board vis-a-vis Generation Texas and Univision's education platform, which is called Es el Momento. The time is now. Very similar and very aligned in strategy with Generation Texas in promoting a college-going culture. In fact, we're working with them and with Madi right now on a big FAFSA education project in San Antonio, where we're going to provide FAFSA Saturdays, similar to what the Chamber already does here in Austin. We're going to be scaling that to San Antonio. So already working hand in hand to try and really make sure that we create this college-going culture. And for us, obviously, it means a lot, not only for the state, but if we think selfishly, for us as a business who relies on advertising sales, the stronger that our community is, and the more that we can prove to potential new advertisers to the Hispanic space that our community is viable, then the better off we're going to be. So both selfishly and as we also look at the state, we realize that our constituency, our viewers, our listeners, because it is television, radio, and online, are extremely important to the success of Texas. So for us as a media entity, it is absolutely imperative that we do what we can to help inform and educate and really empower the Hispanic community of Texas to really up their game and to really create this college-going culture at the family level, which is where we can hit people through television and radio, is in their homes. In terms of some of the academic skills, I think that the fact that we're focusing so much attention on STEM is fabulous. You would not know it, but we are in desperate need of engineers on the television and radio side. You know, we still have these towers that need to be maintained. Many of them are very, very old. Our tower in San Antonio is 55 years old, and it's 200 feet, and there's very few people that know what to do to keep it up. I certainly don't know a whole lot about that, and we have to rely on engineers, many of them who unfortunately are already in the twilight of their career. There are not too many engineers coming out with a real expertise in television and radio broadcast. So I would say that would be one area where we could probably use some help. The other is just having been in the media industry for so long, I can tell you that if you were to go to advertising agencies, PR agencies, television stations, radio stations, print, and even nowadays online and digital, you will be surprised to see not very many Hispanics. When you go to a Hispanic agency, when you go to a Spanish language television station or radio station. And one of those reasons is that we just don't have a culture of family members, friends, colleagues that have grown up in that industry. So we're very young in terms of a generation that has grown up having a father or a relative or somebody that worked at a TV station or that worked at a radio station or an ad agency. So many times we have to import from Mexico, from South America. You'll find that a lot of the top creative directors for a lot of the Hispanic advertising agencies, very few of them are from the U.S. Very few of them are U.S. born. In fact, most of them are from Argentina, from Mexico City, from Spain, and not from the United States. And one of those reasons is because they can master the language and they can articulate a little bit better. And if they're having to write creative copy, then it makes sense that you need to have a natural Spanish speaker. So with that, I think it's a good lead-in to really the next point is I do think that, I know language can sometimes be very polarizing, but I think that the more that we emphasize that we need to really grasp the reality that many of our kids are growing up in a new duality, where language can almost be not as important because as they grow up speaking English and Spanish, then really they become language agnostic, and it goes back to just being culturally relevant. So even as a media company, we're really focusing on that. We're really trying to make sure that we push people to know English as well as you can learn it, but hold on to your Spanish, and that's what we're seeing. Having moved to San Antonio, where there's a lot of third and fourth generation Hispanics, it's really interesting to see how now it's turning around. You sort of had a couple of generations there that lost their Spanish because of some of the social injustices that happened early in the 1900s, and now you're seeing it turn around. You're seeing colleagues and people sort of my age who are making sure that their kids speak Spanish and they grow up bilingual because it just makes all the business sense in the world. So I think that you're going to need to see more of that. I mean, we still have a real issue even at the local, at state, and federal level with Spanish-speaking spokespersons for companies. They just don't have it. They'll pick some employee who just happens to speak Spanish, and they'll go and speak on behalf of this Fortune 500 company, and they don't even know what they're saying. They can't articulate themselves properly in language and in culture, and it's a real shame. And I see it a lot in Texas, unfortunately. So as it relates to the communications world, public relations, I think that we desperately need to make sure that people can continue to speak in language because it's not going away.
Thank you, Luis. Good to see you. Before we continue, one of our members, Greg, you want to come up here? The kind of work that you do and the sector you represent is kind of critical to this discussion. One of our members, Greg Williams, president of Odessa College. Please.
Good afternoon. My name is Dennis Bly. Can you hear me okay? And I'm with IBM, and I lead the IBM Academic Initiative for the South Central United States. And thank you for the opportunity to be here. And some of the programs representing the technology industry, this is obviously a very critical industry for Texas, incredible growth, both in the traditional technology companies as well as the entrepreneurial and the startup companies. So as a part of the IBM Academic Initiative, what our goal is to work with universities and educators at all levels, but primarily working to help incorporate and update existing curriculums. The challenge here is collaboration and how we work with each other to make sure that students, as they graduate, have the right skills that differentiate themselves in probably one of the most competitive job markets now, considering how technology has evolved around the world. So what we do is we make available both content and information and best practices working with educators around the world. We make our software, almost all of our software, available at no charge to accredited institutions. We help incorporate different modules, things like serious gaming with our Innovate and City One, that we can make learning fun and help develop the right skills. From a skills perspective, you're seeing a major transformation with a lot of emerging technologies today, whether it be business analytics, which is exploding, cloud computing, security, in the environment. And we're seeing, even with the challenges from in the job market today, we are seeing a significant shortage in skills, not only here in Texas, in California, in Boston, in software developers, with engineers, even with in every aspect of the business world, even from a marketing perspective, how we're taking data and understanding that data and be able to make more intelligent decisions from that. So our goal, again, is to work with the institutions. That is the sole focus of my job, is to help update and incorporate curriculums. And I find the challenge in working with professors is developing curriculum takes a lot of time and a lot of investment and energy. By the time they have an actual course developed, technology has already made that course outdated. So our goal is to make sure that we can develop existing modules and bring already pre-done curriculums that can be just lifted and put into a course. We also work with collaborations, internships for students, and across the IBM Corporation, from university relations. We work with our IBM business partners, who we talk with as well every day, that tell us about where they have the skills shortage. So I know you'll probably get into some more of the questions a little bit later about the specific skills, but really we are focused on the T-shaped model, which has changed. It used to be when you got a job in the technology industry, you focused on a specific area of technology, and that's all that you focused on. It didn't matter what the marketing team was doing or what another team was doing. Today, that environment has changed with social media and social business. We're expecting employees to be able to not only have their area of expertise and excel at it, but also demonstrate the leadership and the presence of mind to understand what's happening in the rest of the business, what they're doing in their specific role, what that has as an impact upon everyone else in their company and outside the company as well. So I'm here to really represent that and also listen to what my colleagues here on the panel have to say.
Good afternoon. My name is Sean Cranston. I'm the Vice President of Operations for Brookfield Residential. I also sit on the Education and Talent Committee for the Austin Chamber of Commerce, and I'm the Vice Chair for the Education Accountability Task Force for the Austin Chamber. I was asked to come today to speak regarding to the construction trade industry. Our number one issue in our industry right now is that, as Luis said, many of our trades are approaching retirement. We are not having a replacement of trades in a meaningful way, and that one of the key items we see going forward is that there needs to be a re-education of students, removing the stigma of trades. I believe that as a father of four, ranging from junior and high school to a fifth grader, there's a huge emphasis about college and career readiness in the schools, but it comes back to be a teacher, be a lawyer, be an engineer, be this, be that. And candidly speaking, I point out to my children that my neighbors will pay several $100s to have a plumber come and fix a leak on a Saturday afternoon. It seems the education system at times is worried so much about making sure that the students approach a higher education that they become solely focused on a 4-year program, whereas there's a huge opportunity in the certificate and the 2-year programs to not only educate our students but to give them meaningful, well-paying jobs. One of the ways that we have seen this in other jurisdictions work effectively is introduce trades at the middle school and the high school level. We have a fantastic program here in Texas As an aside, I am not from Texas. You can tell from my accent. I am born and raised in Canada. In the Canadian education system, while there is an emphasis on athletics, there is emphasis on fine arts. Every high school also has a full wing of, I would call, when we went to school, industrial arts, but certainly practical, meaningful laboratory environments where students can learn everything from electronics design to how to wire a home or how to plumb a home. And this was these are in academically excellent schools. The STEM programs are very important, and speaking as a professional engineer, certainly I've been able to program my career taking advantage of my degree. However, I rely very, very closely on a lot of people that go through a technical school environment, engineering technologists, surveyors, materials testing technologists, and the importance is that the students need to understand that these are all jobs that are important to society, that one job is not better than another, that it takes many people to build a village. I want to speak briefly on language skill sets as well. I concur with Luis on his comment. Coming from a bilingual country and moving to Texas, we are bilingual here. And many of us seem to be unwilling or unable to admit that. The reality is that in most of the first world countries, multiple languages are a requirement. Prime example, my sister lives in Paris, France. My 18-year-old niece is fluent in English, French, and German. Not because she's smart, but because she has to. My brother-in-law is a Frenchman that works for Bosch in Germany and commutes, and it's just a fact of life. Compare that with my children's education in a local school district here, where while second language is required to get into university, I don't see it as a daily part of their education, to the point where the elementary school is looking for volunteer Spanish teachers, and middle school doesn't require Spanish at all, and high school requires 2 years of Spanish. So where I would like to see is a wholesale emphasis on teaching not only Hispanic students to teach English, but to teach Anglo students Spanish, because together we all need to work in the industry, and both languages are equally important, regardless of status or position. So.
Good morning. I'm Rebecca Vasquez. I'm here to represent the Seton Healthcare family. I'm actually one of the lead non-clinical recruiters for the network. So I couldn't have asked for a better lead-in with that, because one of the things that we deal with the most is letting kids know that you don't have to only be a doctor or a nurse to work in a hospital. It takes an entire organization in the non-clinical world. We need patient access reps to check people into the emergency room. We need support services workers to keep our facilities clean. And so we spend a lot of time working on those efforts to increase that education around you can be in any position and help make the healthcare network work. So one of the main areas I oversee, for example, are the patient access, our ER registration. It could be checking someone in at one of the clinics, but we really focus a lot on those career-ready skills. We deal with patients on a daily basis. You could be dealing with someone who's just there for a routine exam, or someone who's been in a catastrophic accident, and having the empathy and ability to communicate effectively and be prepared for any situation and any type of person coming in is really where we're looking to educate the kids around coming into the hospital. Language is another key piece. I spoke with a manager this morning who's looking to fill a manager position, and almost every management level position we're looking for now is going to require that the person be bilingual. 85% of the community in some of the areas that we're dealing with speak no English. So again, it's another one of those areas where if we can build those language skills and increase the knowledge that that's going to help you get in, we're only bettering the experience that they're going to have as they start coming into the network. We definitely have so many opportunities for entry-level positions. And again, in my world, that's what we deal with on a daily basis. You may require a high school diploma, but that may be one of the only requirements for the position. So really emphasizing, the computer skills, the ability to come in and work in an office environment, are a lot of the key things that we're trying to educate folks about.
Good afternoon. My name is Nathan Green, and I serve two roles in the community. My first is I'm one of the founders of the Austin Young Chamber of Commerce, AYC. We're about 1,500 members. We have about 10,000 friends, most of which you can find on 6th Street on any given night. And we are the second largest chamber in the city, and we've only been around for 2 years. The second role I serve is I'm one of the founders of campus2careers.com. We are a startup out of the University of Texas's IC Squared. We have 3 of the companies on this panel that are clients of ours. Our number one mission is to service and connect via matching technology. We call it a dating site for jobs. Students with small businesses, because that's where 28 million employers are, 98% of the job growth. And in Austin, obviously the bulk of the companies and jobs. And to date, we have 3,000 clients in the Austin market that are recruiting. I have a handout I can bring up at some point that shows the last 1,000 jobs that were posted on our site, what functional area they serve. And not surprisingly, you'll see that there's no alignment between the jobs that are being posted on our site and the majors or degrees of what we're producing here in the educational system. I run a job board, so you would think my answer for what careers and degrees we need most would be technology, e-commerce, programming, development, and that's too easy. What I really think we need is communication, and you've heard that now from multiple people on the panel. They're, arguably 40 to 50% of our workforce is sales or sales related in some capacity. Some people will say it's 100% of what we all do. And to my knowledge, there's only 2 schools in Texas that have a sales management major. That was Texas State, and I understand this year now Baylor. It is very, very hard to educate someone coming out of college on how to speak properly, how to represent a product properly, if they're used to communicating via Twitter in 140 characters. And I think we're really doing a disservice by not focusing on these basic human and business skills. The bulk of my peers in the tech world don't want to be programmers for the rest of their lives. The only way they can go from programming, which has a glass ceiling and can get very tiring, is if they have communication skills and can then be a manager, right? So my degree was from Cornell University. I was a labor studies major, and 90% of my peers went on to law school. I decided instead that that wasn't the route I wanted. I learned on my own how to program, and now I run a job board. Not surprising. I may be the only one in this room that actually does, is doing something with their major today. But if I didn't learn that skill on my own, I would be a lawyer today. And so I really think the question I have is, not that that's a bad thing.
There's nothing wrong with that.
The question I have is the role of education to teach and for students to learn, and that was certainly why I went to Cornell, because I loved labor economics, organizational behavior, or is it to develop certain skills? Cornell didn't provide me those skills, and so I learned it myself, and that's been my career pursuit ever since. Our education system, in some respects, dates back to the 1930s, where 20% of our workforce was what they called mental, 80% manual. Today, 15% of the jobs are professional or trade, 20% are manual or blue collar, and 65% are skilled. How can we adjust and continue to keep pace with the new skill demands that are changing every day with an education system that really is too slow? And there's nothing wrong with that, in the past, but curriculum takes too long to create and approve and produce. I used to work for Pearson before this. I ran their talent assessment business worldwide. It took us years to produce textbooks. How could we possibly keep up with social media and marketing? And now, the number one job you'll see on here is the integration of social media and marketing and technology. It's not just one or the other. It's, companies are looking for marketing people that can also know some level of programming to manage their online brand, SEO, all of those things. How can education keep up? So that's really the challenge that I'd like to work through and solve with the community. What we do to help solve that problem, as an aside, is as the fastest growing entry-level job board on the net, is we help connect students with internships so that they can round out their experience. On January 31st, with the Mayor's Office of Austin, we're hosting Intern in Austin. It's our third attempt, third time. We've brought almost 1,000 students to the event each semester. We connect them with almost 200 companies that are there for internships, because that's why I picked up programming. Second thing I think we could do is connect the students with the right opportunities, or at least awareness of the right opportunities earlier in their education curriculum. So the example I always use is, you're good in math, you can go economics or engineering equally well. The difference to your livelihood is substantial, over $1 million, if you go and get a job in engineering versus, I don't even know what job you can get right now with an economics degree, right? 98% placement rate versus 22% placement rate. We talk about STEM, but students and parents aren't really appreciating the value of an engineering degree and what it might mean for their livelihood. And again, I'm not pushing engineering degrees, just awareness and education. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for a very rich, lively series of presentations. Let's go with questions. I know there are a lot, so we've got a couple of institutional leaders. Maybe a way to begin is to. We've heard about this, Bill and Greg. We've heard about this issue for years, that the workforce and higher education are not aligned. We've heard that. That was going on when I was an undergraduate, and I don't want to say how many years ago that was. But we still haven't fixed the problem. I know that a lot of it is a timing issue, but why are we so out of sync still?
Well, I'll start. I know at University of Houston downtown, we've been discussing this with our faculty, and also I've put together an advisory group of CEOs from Houston just for this discussion. It's been very interesting because there is a gap between what students are learning and what industry needs, and part of it is, I think, that faculty have been preparing people for majors with the intent of most of those students going on into getting a master's or PhD in that major, or perhaps going into law school or medical school, et cetera, rather than thinking that the majority of them are going to go into industry or go into some interim career that may be a career that changes their whole life and gives a different opportunity. So what we're trying to do is bring them together for those kinds of discussions. The other is that we have a lot of discussion around what 21st century skills are, but they tend to be localized in the core curriculum rather than where students graduate. And I think we have to raise that discussion from the core curriculum to what it is a student in this century needs when they graduate, whether they're a philosophy major, whether they're a chemistry major. There's some skill sets that everybody, communication, cultural understanding, linguistic skills, team building and teamwork, project management, problem solving, those kinds of things which we need to build into the curriculum, and we're not doing it in higher education sufficiently.
Greg?
I would agree with your comments, but I will also say thank you for your presentation. Great job. I could feel your angst and your pain and your concern as you were making your presentation. We in two-year colleges, community colleges, we understand where you are, And I think we at Odessa College, we have made some great strides in working with industry. I've made it a point to serve on our local workforce board so that I can hear exactly what the concerns are. I believe that we have responded to those needs locally, but we need to do a better job, and we will continue to do that. We've done a better job with some of our local advisory committees. We've really revamped that and encouraged members of the community to come in and tell us what we need and what they need and what we need to do. And that has been very helpful. I think a part of what you were saying is one of our frustrations at community colleges, in that we are woefully misunderstood and underappreciated, and we need. I mean, this is a different discussion, and Raymond has heard this from us as we talk, but we need the community to understand what we do and how we can be of service. And we're another thing that we're doing is we're working with our local school district, because we think that we can serve them best by taking over a number of those programs and going in and working at 7th and 8th grade and doing some of those things and being involved at that point instead of waiting until students are in college. So those are some of the things we're doing. And again, we feel your pain. I know exactly what you're saying, and I know you, and we understand your frustrations, and we're there with you. And we know that we haven't done what we needed to do in the past, but I feel that we are at Odessa College, and a number of my colleagues across the state, we are responding to that. And I think you're going to see us getting better and better. But also, we need the community of Texas to understand better what community colleges do and what we can do better, and allow us to become even more impactful as we move forward.
Other comments, questions? I have a couple of questions. I think Dennis, this goes to you. You say you have a curriculum module. How receptive are institutions to using it? And when there are objections, or when you have difficulty placing these materials, what seem to be the concerns?
I think from first, there's a curriculum across the entire gamut, from whether it's engineering to marketing to liberal arts to business, that we provide curriculum for. And it's not just IBM generating curriculum. We work with faculty and professors, again, from around the world that develop this curriculum and that also make it available as a best practice or different modules or components. And I've been in this role for the last 3 months is all. So it's a very short time. I've been with IBM for 15, 16 years now. The biggest barrier that I have is actually getting out and communicating with all the faculty members. Once I've shared what the resources are and what the capabilities are, it's pretty much out there for them to take advantage of. The only thing that we ask for them to do is to tell us what they're using from the content and how many students they're educating with it. The bigger barrier from my conversations have really been in the administration side of modifying curriculums and getting curriculums approved through the university systems. That's really what takes a significant amount of time and a lot of process to be able to do that. So there are ways where they can just update and maintain different modules and components of it to keep the curriculum current. But that to me has probably been the biggest challenge. And it takes, again, going back to the point, the length of time it takes to develop a curriculum at a university level requires a large amount of time, and it does not keep up with the pace of technology. So by the time that curriculum is being taught, it's already outdated. And that's one of the biggest barriers that we have to getting the right students, whether IBM is hiring them, whether our partners, whether our customer, no matter where they're going in their job careers, they got to have the right skills to be effective. And, we used to take the position that, if they have the basic skills, we'll teach them all of the different specialty areas that they need to do. But in this competitive economy, companies cannot afford to be able to re-educate from ground zero all of the students that they're hiring as new employees. So we have to have a collaborative effort with, all the way from the high school and the university levels to be able to get the right students in the right jobs with the right skills. But again, having the curriculum is not the challenge. It's more about the process to implement it, or finding the right match of the content based on the skill you're trying to teach. And there's a lot of that that's available.
Any other? Phyllis?
Yes, thank you. There were several of you that mentioned the skills that you're hiring for, but I didn't hear the jobs you're having difficulty filling. And I think it would be interesting just to lay out maybe the top 4 or 5 positions that you find most often go unfilled or take a really long time to fill. And another question I had was too, there's a lot of kids out there that have degrees, that get college degrees, and every time I post a position, I've got 100, 200 resumes to go through, and they're probably wonderfully talented people. It's very difficult to get to figuring out if they actually have the skills based on the majors they're getting to actually do the job you need done. We've talked about it before, but it'd be nice to, and then maybe that's not the role of the university, but it would be nice in some high-level careers where people are, trying to go into sales, trying to go into certain things, that there would be something they could go to, maybe even at a community college level after they get out of school for some period of time to hone up. Okay, they've got this wonderful education base, but okay, now I want a job. What do I need to do to get from here to here so you can walk in the doors to that employer? Because they're sitting around for 6 months or a year or 2 years at home not getting a job anyway. Or they're going back to school and getting another degree and more in debt. I see a lot of that going on, and not necessarily getting themselves ready for the kind of jobs that are out there. So I don't know, I see a gap there, but I really would like to know what some of the top jobs are that aren't getting filled.
Before he answers that, I want you to know I might steal that slogan you just gave me. I have I've learned all these other things at the university, but now I need a job. I need to come to the community college. That's good.
Well, Phyllis, for me, it is culinary at all levels, from basic culinary to sous chef. Would be one of the hardest positions to fill at our properties. And then second would be trades. That's electricians, plumbers, AC. It's the trades.
Okay.
And those that are specific to our industry, I'd go back to something that deals a little bit with language again. And believe it or not, it's anchors, reporters that can speak very fluent Spanish, perfect Spanish. We're having to import them from Latin America many times, or take them from another state, but chances are they're not born and raised here. So I would say that that's one, and I was really happy to hear about sales because we sort of pay the light bill through ad sales, and many times we have to teach people that come from a different industry the sales process, and I would agree. I think all sales is very similar. There's a very unique set of skill sets there that we have a hard time filling.
Absolutely. And engineers to
and
repair
don't
the
forget
towers.
the engineers.
Okay.
Yeah, we got to keep those towers running.
Okay.
From a technology industry, I would say, starting with the roles, would obviously be software engineers, web developers, product managers. But more specifically, the skills that are a subset within there, whether primarily focusing on the emerging technologies, where there are very few skills that exist out there: business analytics, cloud computing, security, social media. Those are all very important skill sets that fit within a number of those job roles. And then overarching, though, is the leadership skills and the communication skills that tie it all together that allow those employees to become successful in the long term.
For us, it's, as I mentioned earlier, trades, and specifically in the framing, in the plumbing, in the electrical area. But also, we are looking for people that, engineering technologists, that are able to go into the field and make sure that things are being built the way the engineers are designing them in the office. And although you didn't directly ask this, I did want to share with you a brief story. In my education, the best teachers I had, at the risk of, with all respect to higher education, the best teachers I had were non-tenured, industry-based professionals that had a passion for teaching and came into the university or the colleges to teach. And when I mentor young students coming out of school and they ask me, what's important, I tell them two stories. Number one, I had a hydraulics professor who the entire class was, each week you got one question. You had to answer it. And she graded it out of 10 for technical content, and she graded it out of 10 for presentation. And then she took the score and she multiplied it, and she took the square root and apologized to, go all engineering on you, but you're thinking, what does that mean? Well, if I had a 10 for each, I'd get a perfect 10. But if I had a 10 for one and a 2 for the other, the square root of 20 is 1 point something. And of course, everybody in the classroom got upset. And she looked at us and she said, technical brilliance with an inability to communicate it is as useless as not understanding the question at all. Employers are paying for students to be able to answer problems that they have in real world in real time, and it's a truly important lesson. Second class that I had that lasted an impact was a senior engineering class, and we had one assignment all year: apply for a job. It doesn't have to be a job you'll take, but you have to find a job, you have to apply for it, and the way you passed was you actually had a recruiter write a letter back to you and say either you have it or you don't. Because I have also, as Ms. Snodgrass said, you put an application in and you have several hundred applications. I'll put an application or a job request out for a left-handed monkey wrench turner, and I'll have someone apply that's an astronaut. I mean, it's completely mismatch of skill set. So we need to educate the students on how to stand out and make a difference in an application, because I speak probably for all of us, and none of us have met before, but I speak for all of us when, unfortunately, when those applications come in, we do this. And we look at the first half dozen that catch our eye, and it's a shame to think that, I went to school for an education, now I need a job, and, the whole opportunity for that individual to get a job is he has a 7 or 8 second opportunity to catch my eye in a pile. So non-tenured, industry-based, passionate individuals that want to teach, maybe make a huge difference in the roles of the children.
Excellent. I couldn't agree more. We deal in, obviously, as a working recruiter, it's the challenge I face every single day. One of the main issues we have is probably the most positions that we need to fill are the ones that require those technical degrees, but also the work experience to back it up. We have a lot of folks who will come to us for medical billing and coding, medical transcription. Again, we have plenty of folks with the degrees who come in looking for a job, but don't have the specific, they may not have that specific pathology experience that's required for several years in order to come in. So again, increasing the education and knowledge of what it takes to not just have that degree and come in, but what you can do to prepare yourself to come in and get that job. We deal with so many positions that, again, it goes back to you can get 30 applications in a 20-minute time period. Every single one of them probably has a bachelor's degree and a master's degree and is very overqualified for the position. And it's putting out the information of what you can do, those practical skills that you can develop and hone that are going to make you the more qualified candidate.
So, Phyllis, I'll answer your second question. Since my company is only 3 employees, we're not hiring any right now. I think the biggest problem is the lack of a single taxonomy. And what I mean by that is recruiters all have their own version of skills framework that they use, whether it's Lominger or their own professional development planning language that they use. And none of that, except in engineering, ties to major. I was with the dean of the liberal arts school recently, and a group of administrators from the program, and they said it's really easy for engineers to get a job because their degree is in the job title, right? They know what to apply for. How does someone with a Middle Eastern studies degree apply for any job? And then Dr. Flores, I think. You mentioned that people were, the system is designed to push people into the next program. So, you either can't get a job or, you're not ready to get a job, which was a lot of my friends. They go and get a master's degree, and now master's degree students are applying for the same job as undergraduates, and employers are throwing their resumes out because they're overqualified. What are you going to do with a student with a master's degree in, underwater basket weaving or really any of the liberal art programs right now? And so they're just getting more in debt and having a harder time finding jobs. There's no single taxonomy. I think that's a huge issue. An interesting data point, and Greg, you'll appreciate this. We just held a Made in Austin event with the mayor and the city of Austin. The chamber was very active in inviting clients and companies. We had about 500 tech students from schools across the state show up. Rice, SMU, they came from all across the state. And we had 110 of the fastest growing tech companies here at the AT&T Conference Center. Great event. We assume probably 300 placements were made. At the end, we had a survey, and we asked the students what their major was, and they're only allowed to be engineering, MBA, and CS and MIS students. 10% of the UT MBA engineering and CS students had an ACC. I'm sorry, 10% of the UT students had an ACC degree on top. And it's because, and there's nothing wrong with this. Again, this is I believe how the education system was built. They went to school to learn, and then to your point, they went to ACC to get a marketable, employable skill. One of the things that I'm working with Drew on is a program to take 1,000 underemployed young professionals in the city of Austin, largest underemployed population in the country, and figure out how to put them through a skills-based training, maybe with ACC, maybe with UT. We're still trying to figure that out, so that no matter what their degree was, it's not relevant today in most cases, and we're going to give them a marketable skill that in 6 to 8 months they could be out employed in the workforce. And when we went and talked to almost 300 companies about this program, they said the silver bullet, and I don't even know if they use that term, that's my term, the slam dunk was a candidate that had a broad-based liberal arts degree and a very specialized certificate or skill from another school. That's the slam dunk, because they've learned how to problem solve, they've learned how to communicate, they've learned all those other skills that we talked about earlier, but they've got something very specific that they can test and hire from. And that's the solution we need to figure out, whether it's 2 years of broad-based education and 2 years of a skill, right? The trade model. I'm not really sure, but it's some combination of that. And I think the community college system can do and has done in many environments a very good job at that. And I was blown away by the numbers of how many UT students also check the ACC box. Would have never guessed that in a million years.
If I can comment on that, I think that as universities, we've got to figure out a way, and one of the things we do a lot is internships early on, from sophomore, junior, senior year, to get them into the field so they get practical skill sets. But the reality of it is, in higher education, even in the technical fields, as you were saying, that the industries are changing so much, particularly in analytics and security and in SEO. A lot of the universities don't even have that skill sets among their faculty. So what we have to do is break down those walls, learn from you, hire from industry, incorporate those skill sets, because the reality of it is our PhD programs are not preparing the faculty to teach what industry needs. And if we don't build those bridges and break down those walls, we're going to lag behind the technology and skill sets that not just Austin needs, that Texas needs.
And also, I would add that we have something similar to that we put in place about 4 years ago, and we call it the Add an Associates program, where we do go into universities and we market to that group to do what we're saying, where you layer the associate's degree on top of the liberal arts education.
And I'll take a little cut off that, put my kids through school after that's a successful program. The other problem, though, right now, too, is the internships. And I don't know if y'all are seeing it, but there are some big lawsuits out there against nonprofits, against chambers, against corporations who are interning students. And I personally froze ours, and we desperately need them in our department. I've helped interns get great jobs after they got out of school,
Absolutely.
but right now I'm afraid to, because I don't want to get sued by someone after they get out of school saying, well, you got me as free labor and that was illegal. And there's some court cases going on right now where they're going back and making them pay. And that's disturbing in an environment where kids aren't getting the skills they need and are coming wanting to get those skills so that they have something on their resume besides a job at McDonald's and a degree that doesn't line up with anything. So
that's one of the critical issues we have to address in higher education. We know that internships work, but we need to make sure that we craft these internships in a way that makes sense. First of all, I think we need to form more partnerships between higher education and corporations to provide paid internships. Students are much more likely to take the work seriously if they're paid for it. And if the corporations pay for the internships, they're more likely to pay attention and make sure that students get skills in those internships. When I was a campus administrator and I oversaw the campus work study program at my institution, we tried to do internships through work study money, and one of the reasons that we failed was time and again we would hear students saying, all we do is get coffee and make copies. So we have to make sure that internships are meaningful. And I think paying students for the internships would help a lot. We have a insufficient amount of financial aid in Texas, and one of the ways we can help students get through college is to give them paid internships. It's a way for corporations to look at the students, to give them actual practical experiences. I think I don't remember who it was that said, our students don't know how to work or graduates don't know how to work in an office environment. I don't know how you teach that in an institution of higher education. You teach that in the workplace. You can do that in an internship. And once again, if you look at the decline in terms of state support per student full-time equivalent, that number is going down steadily. We have to make up those resources somehow, and paid internships is one of those ways to form partnerships between business and higher education to make sure that you get the students with the skills that you need. The other thing that we need to do is we need to attach academic credit to these internships. And that would be the best of all possible worlds. Pay them and connect it to some actual academic credit, so that going into the internship doesn't slow down their time to degree or credential in a community college. But we would welcome, I would be happy, and I'm sure we could pull members of this council together or other representatives from the sectors that are represented on the council together with representatives from the business community and work on this. What I keep hearing over and over again, there have been at least 3 of you who've talked about internships. You talked about internships, Nathan, you did, and I think somebody else did. Clearly, it can be effective if they're done properly.
There's a hybrid option that we're working closely with the schools and the labor market, the employers on. These capstone courses.
Yeah.
Right now we support about 13 capstone courses, St. Ed's, UT, Concordia. We could do more, but we're right now focused on Central Texas, where the schools have a class project, and they farm the projects come in from the from the local employers, and the students are doing the work for credit with the supervision in the classroom from from the professor, and it's everything from managing a company's social media. We've seen business plan writing. We were actually working at one point with the SBDC, so that as small businesses would come to the SBDC and would need a business plan written, because that's one of the requirements to get funding from any of the banks nowadays, that would go through this capstone course. And it worked so well. There was none of the issues and concerns that you talk about, because the students were still going to class. But they were showing up once or twice a month at the employer's office, so they could see a little bit about the workplace. Was more like a job shadow, and they were getting real marketable skills. And in some cases, the professors, were learning how to use the latest technology. So it's just it's a twist that many courses could be built around.
Right. Yeah. And Phyllis, we would at the coordinating board, we'd be happy to work with you on this issue of how we create more paid internships and do the kinds of.
We need to look at that academic and paid. We've done those and they are very effective. And I find the ones that are connected to degree plans to be the best, because the students are taking them more seriously. But I think to get industry to move beyond the non-paid to more of the paid, and to get more of them connecting up with students would also be helpful, because there's just such a vast pool of people that are sitting around with degrees right now that aren't employed.
Our headquarters is located in Western Canada. The University of Alberta has an extensive, it's called a cooperative program, where students commit to the cooperative program. It is actually on their degree. They end up working 5 4-month work terms, effectively coming out with close to 2 years of experience. It causes them to remain in school for 1 extra year. But the benefit to that is that the students are paid a market wage for their experience. The employer grades the student, so if he doesn't show up for work, he fails the class, he's kicked out of the program. The student grades the employer. If it's not a meaningful job, the employer can no longer participate. And what happens is that the employers I'm going to use the word jockey, by offering relevant, high-paying jobs to the students, because number 1 in the class, he gets the first pick of the jobs. Number 2 gets the next pick. And the students effectively go into a draft where they choose the employers they want to work for. So the employers compete to have enticing jobs, meaningful work. And I see it as a win-win for both the students and the employers. The employer sets up a position within the company. Every 4 months he has a new student there, so that it's not a make-work project that's there for 6 months and then the student moves on. While the face may change, the position remains. And the student gets a variety of work terms. And in many cases, those students come out of the program and end up offered a full-time employment with that employer. Certainly, I would encourage the council to look at beyond the regions of Texas, where other areas, and especially into the Canadian post-secondary program for potential opportunities and solutions.
University of Alberta, is that what
yes,
you
sir.
said?
That was University of Alberta.
We'll take a look at it, and we may be giving you a call to see if we can replicate it here in Texas.
I'd be happy to assist in whichever capacity.
Northeastern is also a well-known program.
Yeah.
Where in order to graduate, most of the degrees require an internship, and their placement rates are higher than every other school in their market.
At our next board meeting, we're going to have a presentation by the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, which has a very strong internship program in STEM fields. And that's one of the things we want to model here in Texas. So,
and I would add, sorry.
No, go ahead, please.
I would add, from an IBM perspective, we have thousands of internships and co-ops that we offer students, every year, paid internships. And what we find is that has now become one of our primary recruiting strategies for new hires.
Yes.
When you run the test of are they successful in their role? Can they perform in an on-the-job environment? Most of the internship students that work with us have a job offer before they complete their internship. So it's a very successful win-win relationship, as well as the experience for the students.
And some of you have talked about hiring young people out of high school. I visited Cristo Rey High School in Chicago. I'm sure some of you have heard of it. Students go to school 4 days a week. They do all of their academic. It's a 5-day schedule compressed into 4 days. And 1 day a week they do a paid internship at a professional company. It can be an engineering company. It can be a law firm. It can be an architecture firm. And they work 1 day a week so that they can develop job skills. By the time those kids, this is, as you can tell from the name of the school, it's in a heavily Mexican-American part of Chicago. They have something like a 95, 96% graduation rate. And what some of these corporations are doing, which demonstrates the success of the program, some of these kids are so good, have proven themselves to be so good in their internships that the corporation pays their way to college, whether a 2-year program or a 4-year program, with a guarantee or with a commitment of the student that when they finish their college program, whether it's a career credential or a baccalaureate, that they will go back to work for that company for a minimum of 2 or 3 years, whatever the obligation is. But doesn't Judy Laredo, doesn't Juan Diego do something like that? And that. Well, based on what you all have said about internships, we will, here at the coordinating board, we will aggressively pursue expanding internship programs. Can we get in touch with you about the opportunities that are available, for example, at IBM? We probably need to get an inventory of all the programs that are available so that we can.
Absolutely, I can share that information with you.
That would be great.
And I'll do the same for Univision, because we do quite a bit of it on the television radio side.
Any other questions or comments? This was a great panel. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Getting that school district. Thank you.
Yeah. Good luck.
Keep them
with the schools of public health.
Send me some information.
And that'd be something I'd like to talk to you about.
Okay.
You know what killed internships in my world?
What?
Liability.
Yeah.
When you get sued, the actual potential income is a life.
Yeah, no. All right. Well, we're going to feature one of the members of the council. So, Beverly, please tell us. I thought it would be really good to take a look at the work of an organization like the Urban League of Dallas in North Central Texas, because this is an organization that really is kind of at the nexus of all these issues we've been talking about: education and workforce development. And I thought Beverly would be particularly adept at dealing with this issue, because she's not only the president of the Urban League of Greater Dallas, but she's also an academic with a long history of teaching and administration in higher education. So, Beverly, it's all yours.
Thank you. It's quite interesting. I'm going to try and do this sort of a different way. I want to show you about a 7-minute video. It explains what an urban league is and what we are able to do, standing as a bridge quite often between community, between corporate, between higher education, between your school system, because we can provide that holistic type of approach based on individual needs as well as individual family needs. And so you ask the question, how can we do better by our kids? You do better by the parents. because all of it is intertwined. You cannot provide viable, accelerated programs for young people, and the family is in disarray. And so through partnerships with an organization like an Urban League, where we can partner with a community college in what we're doing now, the GED ABE pathway program that leads to our community college, which will be El Centro, to the fact that we partner with Workforce that provides us funding to do on-the-job training, to the fact that we partner with hospitals, Parkland being one, where we have created a community garden which not only will feed the community, but will also teach young people how to grow in another area, as well as nutrition, to the fact that the overall vision coming from this big coalition is now to build a trade technical skills training center in cooperation with our community college, with the Construction Education Foundation, with our unions, and with our construction industry, with all of your trades located under one roof, your level 1, level 2 certification under one roof. And so for those who are not ready for the college environment, an Urban League might be the bridge to a career and then bridging to that community college. So I hope that you will watch our 7-minute video, and if you have any questions, let me know. Has remained focused. It's focused on the belief that when you bring people together, when you give them a support system, when you give them the resources and you challenge the person, that they can change. And so that's been our mission, enabling people to become productive citizens. That's our belief at the Urban League, that people want to learn, they want to do better, but they have to have options to the issues that they're facing. We have provided options, but we've provided opportunities, and we've provided the support system.
It was tough. I mean, I was just literally out in the streets, you know, nowhere to go, you know. I've never been in that situation before, you know. And then when I got out, there was just nobody there.
Locked out implies that there's a door that you cannot open. The Urban League believes that it wants to be that engine which provides the education, provides the training, provides the support so that individuals can walk through that door.
We don't take any shortcuts, but we ensure that everything that we do here is, number one, quality, it's done in excellence, and the bottom line is people in a position to get employment.
The Education and Youth Services Department is dedicated to giving our youth the edge it takes to succeed in life. Our 100 Scholars Program prepares high school seniors to take their place as tomorrow's leaders by exposing them to corporations, colleges, and high-demand, high-growth careers. Our Junior Academy creates clear pathways for 9th to 11th grade students so that they can navigate in high school and prepare themselves for college and the workforce. Our programs offer life skills, along with social and academic development. We introduce youth to a world of possibilities by taking them to places and introducing them to successful people that many of them would not meet. We surround them with mentors who look like them and may have had the same life experiences. Our parents are involved in their children's lives through our Parent Circle. We encourage them to get involved with their students' school and to support them as they prepare for the next steps in their lives. We also offer enhancement programs such as Verizon HTML web design and our STEM Academy, which is designed to prepare students to compete in the global marketplace in the areas of science, technology, engineering, and math. The Urban League empowers the youth of today to be the leaders of tomorrow.
Good afternoon, Urban League Greater Dallas. I'm at Director College.
Monday and Tuesday of each week, we receive something like 650 calls just requesting services for utilities and rent and our mortgage payments because people are behind.
Well, we try to prevent the foreclosure on for homeowners who are at foreclosure door. We negotiate between the lender and the homeowner on some type of solution to prevent the foreclosure.
I just couldn't keep sitting at home. I had to get education, so I came to the Dallas Urban League.
Like I said, we're going to do sentence dictation. Sentence dictation is excellent skills.
I'm the director for our Institute for Minority Success. The Institute is a program designed for out-of-school and adjudicated youth and older adults and ex-offenders. What the program does, it works with them with their education, GED training, job development, personal development training, as well as internship placements and job opportunities.
The Urban League bought all my tools. It was like $790 worth of tools. That's a lot of money to give to an ex-con, an ex-offender. But they had to trust in it.
The Project for Victory program is about assisting nonviolent ex-offenders in reintegrating into society. What we attempt to do is to put programs in place that will make their transition easier and smoother as they leave the correctional facilities and come back to the communities.
Every day, the world is changing. Something new is coming out. And we all need to be abreast of the changes that's coming out.
In this class, I've learned so many things. I was less empowered, but felt like I was educated. But once I had the opportunity to be a part of this technology, I'm retired, and I don't want to stop learning. I want to continue.
But I want to live by example. And I'm letting you know, if you want to make it out here in society, you can do it.
History has taught us how to modify what we do in order to make what we do relevant to the issues and the challenges that are facing us.
Breathing down.
Several of my programs that I manage right now are HIV related. And given the statistics in the state of Texas, and especially in Dallas County, among minorities, African Americans, MSMs, and some of our target population, it's very much needed. We need to get out there, get people tested to know their status, provide some education, and some intervention services that can impact change.
The Urban League is an excellent steward of the funding that we receive from various sources. We have policies and procedures in place for both accounting and programs. We regard ourselves as a one-stop service provider, but we know that we cannot do this alone. So we have signed over 70 memorandum of agreement with various community-based organizations, faith-based organizations, governmental entities, to work with them to provide assistance so that when a client comes to the Urban League, they are assured of assistance either through our own programs and services or referrals to these partners that we have in the community.
When we listen, we then are able to not just do what the Urban League wants, but to do what the community needs.
Every day you get up, you have an opportunity to create something new.
So little victories, it gives you something to build on. It's stair steps, and we all have to take baby steps. You cannot expect to fly when you've never walked or crawled.
As we build the glitz and the glass and the tall buildings and all of the modern structure, they are nothing if you don't have a viable soul in this community. Understanding that the soul of every community is its people, including the least of its people. And so that's what the Urban League is here to do, to help this city and this community rebuild the soul of this city. Okay, as you can see, it is a truly holistic approach to solving the challenges that we have. And as Seifu said, we have, well, right now, over 80 memorandums of agreement that allows us to interact with all of the companies. I was hoping he would still be here. IBM is one of our strongest partners, along with TI, Verizon. But what they also understand is what they can't do is to provide the training for that many people might need in order to go work for an IBM or a Verizon. And so one of our big partners is also Cisco. That is a viable trade. And hopefully the new training center will be able to provide that level 1, level 2, because everybody is not ready for a community college environment, but they are ready to become productive citizens, and they like tinkering with things. And so we want to provide that expanded opportunity for future growth and be a bridge to institutions of higher learning.
Questions, comments?
There was a that shows you I am technically illiterate, the jump drive. But in your packet, there's also a that shows the impact of what we do with our partners on the community, on our taxpayers, and so forth. And it's simply called the annual report, where we literally have to, we don't have to, but it's a good idea to report to your partners and your funding sources. I think it's this one, what you have accomplished. And so we try to do that each year, and this is the piece. And you never know how taxpayers are affected when we do something and can put people to work. I like to say it saves me some money on my taxes. So we make sure that you know exactly what we've accomplished. We can just quickly. So all of our, you can just keep going fast. All of our programs basically. Is
that your proposed center there?
Oh no, that's where we are now. Oh. That's us. Okay, and what we're doing is as we go through, empowered by, if you go back, technology, it simply says our biggest partner is El Centro. So our instructor, when they teach, over 1,800 clients, as they taught the clients, they also earned 3 credit hours to El Centro. So that's how that partnership bridged. So by completing this class, they earn college credits. We did the technology, we've done Empowered by a Second Chance. And so when we registered our GED students and they passed, many of them, 19, entered their first year of college, and 40 of them entered the skills building arena. And so even with the Project for Victory, as you heard, for those who were re-entering, the ability to find 684 formerly incarcerated viable jobs that after 1 year they were still on the jobs, because we don't send them until they go through our job readiness, our social skills, our technology skills, so that they know what to do. But when you look at that, at over $10 an hour, $12 million went back into this community for Dallas. And for all of us as taxpayers across the state, we saved you $25 million. That's the cost that we would have paid if we had kept the 684 formerly incarcerated in prison. That is $37,000 a year per prisoner. And so you have to look at all of this. And they're coming back to guess who? Families and children. So all of what we do must tie together. We cannot do education alone. We can't do workforce alone. We can't do health alone. Every bit of it must be intertwined to mix and cross with each other. So when we're devising these programs, we have to think on a broader basis. The learning, we did the technology, the homeowners, the educational service, the housing. If we save 243 foreclosures, and that's because I had the staff, I just didn't have a big enough staff, then we allow the financial institutions, in case any of you work for a bank, you kept about $3.5 million on the books. That's somebody's job as a loan officer. And so you have to look at things like that with health service and all of the others. And so we simply say, when you think of your programs, think of nonprofit or community-based organizations in your city. I guarantee you, look closely, make sure they're doing the right thing now, but that's a bridge for everything that we want to do.
Questions or comments?
Quick question about I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
About your technical skills training center, where you are with that, and if you're working with El Centro on that project.
Not only El Centro, but North Lake.
Okay.
What's going to happen with the center, I'm very frugal with money, but when you build a 50,000 square footer, what you have to have, I can't pay for all of those instructors. But what I can do is provide that space where the instructors in the trades from El Centro and from North Lake will come into the facility and actually teach the level 1, level 2. So that's a win-win for the community college as well as the Urban League. Because as I said, a lot of people just feel comfortable in that Urban League environment, even though we're probably stricter than other environments. And then working with the Construction Education Foundation, they can now move to level 3 and apprenticeship. So it really is the bridge. And then working with our chamber, I think someone said they were with the chamber. The chamber will be based there to actually teach how to start business. So many of the participants might want to actually start a small business. And so you have to give them all of those options. And then our construction companies, and yes, the unions, will be based there. As they map their projects out, they will actually be able to assist in the training and the licensing or the certification of the participants and move directly to a job.
First, thank you very much, and congratulations on your great work. My question has to do with the health component that you have here, and if you could talk a little bit about not only the delivery of services, but opportunities related to education. I had a meeting yesterday with the insurance companies of Texas, and we talked about the gap in community health workers, people that are from the community, look like the community, and can reach out and deliver very specific basic education related to health that can keep individuals out of the emergency rooms, keep them healthy, et cetera. Are there opportunities, and have you not only expanded from the delivery of healthcare, but some of that, are there opportunities there related to community health workers, promotoras, those type of programs? Most of our
activity in the health department is related to outreach and education for prevention. We are funded, we have several funding sources, the health department, the state health department, CDC, and also Parkland. And what we've been doing is the education and prevention of HIV and AIDS in the community. Community Promise is one where we hire out of the community. We train as peer counselors as part of our funding, and they in turn go out in the community and deliver the message. And you often think you don't have places for social workers, but you do. And part of it is educating the community. We do the testing, the HIV testing. We also do the nutrition side. So we're able to go into the high schools, into the other arenas, and talk nutrition, teach nutrition, but also talk about other areas of prevention. And every class that we have, or every department, if they have participants, they have to go through a, quote, health class. And so if we're doing work readiness, a part of work ready is health education. So we have our health peer counselors to come in and talk to them about various areas. We're trying to be a healthier organization. And we're trying to, I think one of our partners, I want to say Blue Cross or Blue Shield, I think it was one of them, but they wanted to come in and work with us on getting materials out into the community about insurance is not just about accidents, but prevention. And so we try and work with many partners on just communicating healthy lifestyles.
Should talk some more.
No, I think that is a significant opportunity that you know, as healthcare changes, being able to have that very front line health educator is an opportunity here in Texas.
It is. And by the way, it was funny, and everybody's saying it. I see it from both sides. I can see it, as the chairman said, because as CEO of a nonprofit, but I also see it as in the health area as being the adjunct teaching anatomy and physiology for nurses and health professionals. And so you see both sides of trying to make all of this come together.
Well, thank you very much. The whole purpose of this presentation was to simply underscore that community-based organizations like the Urban League are often the best brokers in forging partnerships between education and workforce development. They have great cultural competency in their communities. They know where the people are. They have access to thousands of people who want jobs, who want an education, are highly motivated, and so it's a tool. It's a great partner that we oftentimes underestimate. So thank you for the presentation. Okay, let's move on. We have one more panel to go talking about adult basic education. We're first going to have an overview of adult basic education, then talk about where adult basic education and innovation fits into the overall concerns of this state P-16 council. So let's bring everybody up at once, since we're running short of time. I want to make sure we get through the agenda. As all of you know, adult basic education is a critical issue in Texas. I remember hearing just a couple of years ago that we have 2 million adults in Texas. Is it more? 3. Is it what? 3.8. Well, I was going to say we have 2 million functionally illiterate adults in Texas. Okay. So and the ones that are eligible for adult basic education significantly larger than that. Well, let's begin. Dr. Gloria Mawazi, is that pronounced correctly? Yes. From the Jobs for the Future, an organization we love here at the Coordinating Board. So you're going to give us an overview, and then we're going to proceed with individual presentations. I want to remind you, we have to be out of here by 5 o'clock, so please keep your comments as brief as possible so we have time to ask questions and interact.
I just want to briefly introduce a little bit of these programs and frame it a little bit for you before Dr. Mwase speaks to you all. My name is Linda Munoz, and I'm Senior Program Director of Adult and Developmental Ed here at the Coordinating Board, and I'm Program Manager for the grants that you're going to be listening, the programs you're going to be listening to today. And I just want to talk a little bit about these Adult Basic Ed Innovation Grants and what they are, and you might remember I was here maybe the last time to talk about these grants. These are programs that concurrently enroll adult or basic skills students into maybe GED courses with certificate training courses at community colleges, or their basic skills support classes concurrently enrolled with certificate training programs. And this directly addresses or supports the Closing the Gaps initiatives in terms of increasing the enrollment and success of adult students in post-secondary education and training courses. Our partners we strongly rely on our partnerships with community-based organizations, with TEA and with TWC at the local level and also at the state level in helping us understand who these institutions are working with and what types of supports and barriers they have. We are learning from experience so far over the last year that we've had these programs that there are some barriers, significant institutional policies that are preventing some of these programs to really innovate and to do the changes that we know can be done from the experiences or from things that are happening in other states. And so with that in mind and some of these issues coming closer to our understanding over the last year, we contracted with Jobs for the Future to provide us with that sort of practice to policy intersection and to support these programs with technical assistance and to support us at the coordinating board with the technical assistance that we need to sort of address these barriers and also to show what's really working and as well. So with that, I'd like now to stop talking and let Gloria Mawase from Jobs for the Future begin.
Great. Thank you very much for this opportunity to speak to the State P-16 Council and to share about some of the work that we've been doing with states and institutions across the country to really address this pressing need of helping lower-skilled adults advance to family-sustaining careers. As you know, Jobs for the Future is a national nonprofit organization. We're based in Boston. We work across the country, and our focus really is on helping disadvantaged young people and adults get the post-secondary credentials that they need to get jobs or careers in the labor markets in their regions that pay them family-sustaining wages. We do quite a bit of work here in Texas and with the coordinating board focused on engaging districts around early college designs that combine high school and college. We work also with the state coordinating board and other agencies around a number of policy initiatives, Achieving the Dream, the Developmental Education Institute, and now the new Completion by Design initiative, in which Texas is one of 4 states that are really looking at how to prevent so many of the students in college from actually dropping out and not completing their programs. And then we do a lot of work with institutions, and we'll be doing even more work in this new partnership with the coordinating board to really help lower-skilled adults who are beyond the reach of K-12 institutions get the education and the skills training they need so that they can get good jobs. And in the interest of time, I'm going to cut to the chase here. And the bottom line is this approach doesn't work. This traditional long sequential approach where students go through ABE, GED, and then often aren't college ready, have to go into developmental education, and if they get out of that, finally into a post-secondary training program that might prepare them for a job in their local labor market. This must change. And what we found across the country is that many programs are aligning adult education and GED programs with post-secondary training programs from the outset, what we call integrated pathways, or these concurrent models that Linda mentioned, so that students get what they need to be college ready and be successful in college while getting the skills that they need to meet the employer demand that many of these employers we just heard from desperately need. And whether that extra effort to provide college readiness happens within an ABE or ESL or GED program, or it actually is embedded within the career and technical pathway, we've seen both. We're agnostic about structure as long as we're getting the effective results that these students need. And we are seeing across the country, the field is moving more and more in this direction. There is a much stronger focus on meeting the local labor market demand of employers. And how do you get that labor market intelligence that will ensure that pathway programs are aligned with that demand? So it's both talking to employers as well as looking at traditional and what's called real-time labor market information so that programs can really help ensure their skills and competencies are preparing students to be employed and to advance. The focus on career pathways, it has to go beyond just that first job, but how do you help increase credentials so that they can get higher paying jobs? And then a range of options to accelerate skills development. We know that if lower skilled adults are starting with lower skills, the path is longer unless we figure out strategies for accelerating those. And these integrated pathways are one. I won't go into all of these examples, but just do want to make the point that these are proven models. They have been tested across the country. They show effectiveness and results. Here's one example from Davidson County Community College. They take, in North Carolina, they take adult basic education students at the 4th, 5th, 6th grade level, and they're able to transition them through their contextualized on-ramp programs into college credit level courses. 75 to 81% of them skip Dev Ed altogether, go into college level courses, and complete a credential in at least a year. So this is effectiveness. We all know about the iBest program in Washington State, in which many students engaged in these integrated pathways earn credits. They are more likely to complete programs, they're more likely to be employed, they're more likely to persist and retain unto completion. Integrated pathways work. And we were also very delighted to hear many of the employers speak to what we've seen across the country and have also seen here in Texas, that dual language matters. It's not just a matter of ESL and teaching people English, but in some regional labor markets, having a second language is actually a competitive advantage. And so how do we help our students, our adult learners, really utilize that asset that they have so that they can be better positioned to get jobs and advance? And South Texas College in the Lower Rio Grande Valley has been doing this, and I just wanted to point out in this slide, you can barely see it, it's at the bottom, but one of the things they're doing is actually providing contextualized technical Spanish to Spanish speakers, because not only is speaking Spanish important, but speaking Spanish in a professional context, in this case healthcare, is also important. So it's what the gentleman from Univision was saying about really having someone who can participate in these industries using their language as a real skill. So from our work across the country and the research that's been done, we've identified a number of key elements to these pathways, certainly aligning adult ed with career and technical programs, looking at ways to support students academically and socially, accelerating their development, and then creating these stackable credentials so that they have modulars, credentials they earn along the way, that we know many of our students have many life issues that may require that they step out of post-secondary education for a time. We want them to leave with some value added. And if we can figure out a way to align these credentials so that they are shorter, more intensive, but still meeting industry needs, then it helps them leave if they need to for a short time with something. And then they can come back and get an additional credential leading to additional opportunities. We also see these partnerships with workforce investment boards and employers as being critical to ensuring this alignment with labor market needs. And we're delighted to hear that the coordinating board has really made that an important part of the innovation grants that they've invested in, that these partnerships with employers are happening. Across the country, there are many states that are looking at how to take these innovative strategies and scale them up, and Texas is a leader amongst them. We're talking about states like Washington State, but also Illinois, Kentucky, Kansas, North Carolina. There are others that I could name, Virginia and Louisiana. Everybody's trying to deal with this challenge. I do have to say, though, that no one across the country has invested $14 million of their own state general revenue funds to make this happen. So it's a real testament to the commitment that the state of Texas has made to this population, that you're investing that much of your resources, and I'm sure you have an equal level of results that you're expecting. And I think you'll hear in just a moment that the promise and the potential that you hoped for when you made these investments are being realized through the grants that you'll hear about in just a moment. But the leadership commitment, the professional development, the disseminating the evidence, investments to support innovation, all of these elements are important for scaling up, and these elements are present here in Texas as well. And I'll just end now with just touching on some of the policy trends, because as Linda mentioned, a number of policy issues are emerging, both at the institutional level as well as at the state level, that will need to be addressed to allow the expansion of these programs and their sustainability and scale. One, of course, is the access for adult basic education students. Still too many programs have the GED as a barrier to access for ABE students, when we already have demonstrated time and time again that these students can be successful with supports in college level programs without that credential. So there are some pathways like health care where that may not be an option, but there are others where the GED really isn't needed. And so let's look at removing that as a barrier and providing additional financial aid resources to the extent that we do with high school students for adult ed students, so that they can have a greater access to post-secondary education. Funding and how you braid funding sources is a critically important part of what states are trying to figure out. And we're delighted to hear that the Texas Education Agency and the Texas Workforce Commission are working hand in hand with the coordinating board, implementing similar types of projects and really trying to figure out how to align their resources as well as their policies and programs. Intake processes really sometimes is as simple as ensuring that adult basic education students are made to feel a part of the campus from the outset. Do they have a student ID? Can they use the library? Can they take advantage of various supportive services? And these all seem like simple things, but in fact, many institutions have barriers for adult basic education students, even those that are in programs housed on these college campuses. They have barriers to helping those students really be fully integrated into the campus. And that has, of course, an impact on their success and their desire to continue. Redesigning these programs through integrated pathways, aligning state education and workforce agencies, again, with a focus towards the labor market demand, and data is the currency of the realm. And we are finding at both the institutional level and at the state level that there is a lot more work to be done here in ensuring that there is really great data that tracks students from adult education into post-secondary education and then into the labor market. Many institutions have challenges with putting adult basic ed students into their post-secondary student information systems. This is a challenge that has to be addressed. And then how do we develop centralized databases across multiple state agencies that allow you to track these students and their progress and success as well? So with that, I will stop. I'll be happy to take any questions that you have right now, and then very quickly want to move into our college grantees here who will talk about the work that they're doing. Okay, so with no questions, please, I'll turn it back to Linda to introduce each of the grantees.
There are 4 innovation institutions here today. There's Houston Community College, Tarrant County College South, correct yourself? Tarrant County College, and Texas State Technical in Harlingen, and Lone Star College System at Conroe Center right now, but it's expanding. So I'll let them introduce themselves, talk about their programs.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm LaShondia McNeil from Houston Community College, and I am the director of this transition program. We call our program GT3, GED Transition to Training. Let me tell you a little bit about our model. We are practicing a concurrent model, and what that includes is enrollment in our adult basic education program, as well as one of our career technical education programs too. We also require that those students are engaged in what we consider to be an intensive and ongoing advising process, which also prepares them for those soft skills that we heard that the employee panel talk about a little bit earlier. What we require of our students is they have to go to their adult basic education class, because if they're not participating in that, there's no need for them to be in this program. With that said, we provide them with a curriculum called either a VABE or a VESSEL, because those students are either in a GED prep class or an ESL class. And the VABE accompanies the GED prep, the VESSEL accompanies the ESL. We have 4 programs that we're going to be focusing on. The 4 programs that we focus on is computer support specialist, which includes IC3, A+ certification, network certification. The other one is our health information specialist. The third is heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. And the 4th program that we focus on is welding. We administer assessments to these students. The assessments that we use is TABE. That's to determine their NRS functioning level, and we require that they have an intermediate basic level. And for ESL, we use the BEST Plus and the BEST Literacy. We also require that they have an intermediate functioning level as well. Here are some of the most recent statistics that we have of some of the students that have been enrolled starting in October of 2010. We had our first cohort of HIS students, and we partner with, we have a consortium at the Houston Community College, and that consortium includes 11 community-based organizations. So one of our HIS cohorts that started in October was placed at the community-based organization, similar to what we heard about the Urban League program. So the classes were offered there. We had the ESL class was there in the morning, and then the HIS class was there in the evening, and that was for 16 weeks. We also had a partnership with something called Central Physician Network. That was a group of the physicians in the area that said they had a need for it. And as some of the employers said, bilingual was important because they needed some of the people in the community that spoke Cantonese and Manganese and some of the other language from Asia. So that was a great partnership, and since then we've had 3 additional cohorts to finish in that area. Because of that, we also have one of the other consortium members is called Alliance, and they have a high refugee population that attends that community center. So we have the A+ certification program offered on that campus as well. This is our second cohort of A+ certification, and now we have our first cohort, which will start actually next week, of network certification. So we're really excited about having our programs offered at community-based organization. But with that said, we also offer them on campus. We have 6 colleges, as you know, but we don't offer them just at one. Any of the programs that are offered if it's offered at Central or if it's offered at Northeast, we make sure that we provide those programs for our students. The recruitment process hasn't really been a challenge because, as I said, first and foremost, they have to be a part of our adult basic education program, because this is a population that's truly in need of getting some post-secondary education so that they can have employable skills. The case management is essentially what I was saying about the intensive ongoing advising. That's just a part of it, and you have a commitment form that you must sign, and essentially you meet every Friday. The counselor will come to your class if you don't show up for your meeting. Job placement, we've used our career center, and as I said to some of the other companies that actually would tell the community center about their needs, they were able to come over and interview our students and provide internships, especially for the ones that were at the Chinese Community Center. This is our career path model. As I said on numerous times, they are required to be enrolled into our ABE, ASE, or ESL class, and then the concurrent enrollment into one of the programs. And you'll notice that for HIS, they do receive a national certification in billing and coding. For our computer support specialist program, they receive the A+ certification that they take through CompTIA, the same with Network Plus. With HVAC, one of the certifications they receive is the national certification with the EPA. And through welding, there's a recognized certificate with the union. So most of these students were able to pass for HIS, which was on the previous slide. Out of 47 students that had taken the test, 46 passed that national exam, and that's some alarming statistics. But one thing I wanted to say that was not on the other slide was at least 33 of those students are employed. Some of them haven't completely finished the program or haven't taken the certification exam. For example, for our A+, we only had one student that has completed that exam to date, and we have 5 scheduled to take it in the next 2 weeks. Some of the challenges that I want to talk about at our institution right now is because of the meningitis. Inoculations is a requirement, and we have quite a few students that fall in that age range, and so we're trying to make sure that these students receive that inoculation prior to their classes beginning, and for us that's going to be next week, unless we have them in the second start. We do offer a second start of enrollment, and I want to make sure I didn't leave out anything. 63% of our population is ESL, and the other 47% is our ABE, ASE students. And I believe that's pretty much it. I hope I'm not missing anything about our program. We did have quite a few institutional changes that happened. We were allowed to have our students take the compass test because one of the goals is to make sure that during this process of concurrent enrollment that they become college ready. So part of the intake process is they must take the compass, and we compare those scores to ability to benefit to see if they are eligible for financial aid. We're looking at long term of sustainability. So that's one part, and then we test them again after the completion of the program. One other thing we do is we make sure that some of these programs can be converted to semester credit. For example, with IHIS, that can be converted to semester credit, and they can go on and continue a health field profession at our Coleman College. The same applies to our HVAC. They can go all the way up to an associate's degree. I believe that's pretty much it. I think she's telling me it's time. Thank you.
Yeah. Watch the time.
Good afternoon. I'm Tristan Davis. I'm with Lone Star College, and I'm the advisor for the ABE IG grant. I want to start off just showing you a little bit about what we've done so far. We have a contextualized skills model. We, at this point, have had 4 certified nurse aide cohorts with 46 participants and 3 welding cohorts with 24 participants. We recruit from ages 18 and older. We also use the TABE as a intake. It's one of the things the coordinating board has asked us to do. But we started a 6th grade level in reading or higher, and we really look for that level, whether they're ESL or not, if they're native English speakers, either way, because of the level of some of the textbooks that they're going to be using. When we interview, we look to interview students in. We talk about barriers, but those aren't things that stop us from taking students. So we are interviewing in students, not interviewing out students. Recruiting and assessment. Up front, we do a lot of recruiting. We recruit from community-based organizations, from our ABE partners, from the Homeless Coalition, from businesses. We've gone and talked to hospitals in the area, some of the different businesses that employ welding students in the area, to see if they have people that might be interested. One of the things we found very interesting is there are a lot of people in hospitals that are definitely ABE level in housekeeping or in food services that want to move up the ladder. And so we've been recruiting from that area. Our case management style is intrusive. We are on campus. I am located where the students are. They see me on a daily basis. They're required to see me twice a semester, but they see me on a daily basis. We have created an atmosphere where I meet with the teachers on a weekly basis, both the technical teachers and the support skills teachers on a weekly basis, to see what the student progress is. We've had situations where the teachers and myself and a student have had to sit down and talk through what's going on with that student so that they can be successful. But we've been able to create a very, very successful partnership with the teachers and the students together to help this be successful. We offer tutoring to our students, as we don't specifically offer GED. We offer tutoring to our students that need GED, and we have had, to this point, multiple students go ahead and get their GED credential. The big thing that we do up front also is offer a college day to our students. We want them to know what the college campus looks like. We want them to know what else is available to them, and that this is step one in where they're going, not the last step. So we talk about financial aid. We connect them with an advisor that also comes into their class, a credit advisor that talks about other areas in their pathway where they can go to. They can get an AA, I have 2 minutes, where they can get an associate's degree in welding. Where else can they go in healthcare? And then we have that advisor come into the classroom later on so that they're seeing that same person multiple times. We talk about financial aid. At this point, we have 80% of our students that are employed or seeking more education. On the back end, we also offer resume writing skills and interview skills through our Workforce Solutions location. And we've had National Oil and Varco come on campus and do some interviews for actual positions that they had, so we're very happy about that. We are starting to replicate this model on other campuses. That's something that hopefully we'll be getting this semester. And we've also created a transitions committee, a college system transitions committee with deans from other campuses, corporate college, just a variety of people from the system to talk about how can we do this system-wide? What do we need to do to make this something that can be functional throughout our college? And finally, I'll just tell you that we have 95% of our students pass their CNA exam. That's a really high rate. 74% of our welders pass their welding exam, pass the welding class. 66% of non-cohort students pass the welding class. So we're seeking a lower educational level, but getting better results. Challenges. Oh, and I'm done. Thank you.
Wow.
The 2-minute marker there. So can I have it? You're hiding it.
Hi, I'm Stephen Sadatha with TSTC in Harlingen. Sorry, let's click here. This slide I'm going to show you is a student profile of our students after this 1 year half mark. If you look on the left-hand side, you'll see a pie chart that shows the gender of our students. On the bottom side, let me see if this is a laser. Yes, right here you'll see that 95% of our students are female and 5% of being white. This next, female, I'm looking at the wrong slide here. Gender is female and 5% are male. This next pie chart shows that 95% are Hispanic and 5% are white. The student age range varies for these groups, with the average range being 26.5. You can see that the majority of our students are coming from 20 years old to the age of 39 years old, with relatively few being 18 or 19, and the 40 to 49. Our students come from various grade ranges. This bar chart here shows the highest level completed for our students coming into our program. The average grade level that they completed at high school is the 9th grade level. If we look at the age as well as the grade level, we're looking at students that have been out of school for at least 12, 13 years on average, and most of these students have not attended a GED program. We put our students through 2 training programs. We do a concurrent model with GED as well as one of these 2 trainings. The first one is a phlebotomy. This pathway here represents the sequence that we get our students through within 16 to 20 week time period. On the right hand side you see the Roman numerals 1, 2, and 3. These are phases. This is how we break up the program to show students what they're going through and try to inform them this is what your program will look like throughout this time period. We put students into a contextualized GED for reading, science, and math, as well as a college and career readiness course where students are learning about the college college, learn about the career and how to navigate within those areas. When students are complete with this phase, they enter into the phlebotomy program as well as the writing and social studies section of the GED. During this time period, they're attending clinicals at the local hospital and are getting prepared to complete the GED portion in order to take the national certification exam. During phase 3, which is up here, we give students 3 options. One, they can look for a job, in which a local workforce board is helping out, as well as our college placement office in the college. And they can either go into EMT program or continue into the college. The second program that we have that we're offering our GED concurrent model students is emergency medical technician. This one I really like because this is a true pathway that leads students from the GED, which is again phase 1 and phase 2, and these students here, once they enter EMT, they have and they graduate from this program. These courses are articulated into the academic side, and they receive 15 credit courses that go into a certificate level 1. Once they enter the academic side in the following semester, they all need to do is take 9 credit hours in order to get their certificate level 1, and then they can continue on to a certificate level 2 and then to associate paramedic. All these credits transfer into the next one and so forth. We are working with our local Workforce Solutions Board to continue scaling these programs into different industries. Right now we're focusing on the healthcare industry, and we're going to add an additional program as well as trying to focus on the automotive industry. We're waiting on our final approval from the Workforce Board to offer a concurrent model with automotive technician and GED, as well as expanding our healthcare focus into pharmacy tech as well as GED. These students, the minimum level we accepted the 7th grade level based on the tape test. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Cesar Diaz. I'm with Tarrant County College, and we'll go right into our first slide here, talk a little bit about our program. Oops. Okay. For our part, we're fortunate enough that we have been a partner with the Tarrant County Fiscal Agent for Adult Basic Education for over 20 years. So we actually have ABE as part of our campus, and the college has also leveraged a lot of money to expand those courses beyond that money. So where we focused on was advising. That was a very critical part of ours. We're able to hire 2 full-time advisors and pay for 2 part-time on the developmental side of this grant too, which is a partner of this. But basically we also use a very intrusive advising model where the advisors go to the students on site. They do a group orientation, and then after that they move down to do individual orientation or advising with the students. They create a case management for each student and help them explore different careers that are available at the college on both tracks, whether it be academic or vocational. We also have a transitions to college success course, dual enrollment opportunities, and we integrate basic skills into those tracks that are vocational based. Our recruitment, because we're part of ABE, has been something very easy. We have 7 learning concerns that are funded through state and federal dollars as part of the college, and then we have ABGD courses at all of our campuses, as well as access to 90 ABE sites with the Fort Worth ISD, who's a fiscal agent. And they, in turn, to match that, what they did with their monies, they hired 2 part-time advisors that support our advisors as well. And they're able to divide up those sites and visit them. Apart from the Fort Worth ISD, we also have the Workforce Board, of course, that, as was mentioned earlier, helps us to find those tracks that have those high-demand, high-paying occupations. And the Women's Center, who's a close partner in the one vocation that we're going to highlight here. The training programs that we've had, one dual enrollment that we have is the Office Careers Program that doesn't require that they have a GED currently. The Integrated Skills Training, Computer Numeric Control, the CNC class, and the Oil and Gas Production, both do require that because of the leverage. We leverage dollars from another grant, and then other programs that we'll be piloting in 2012. And here's a model of how the CNC goes. Basically, a student is recruited through one of those sites that I mentioned. The advisor goes out there, they do the referral, they do an assessment through TABE. They have to meet a minimum 9th or in reading or 10th in math. If the student meets that, then they go to the orientation and they go into the program. If not, they're funneled in through our ABE classes, and we enroll them in a short-term or long-term class depending on how deficient they are. Create a diagnostic profile on the student, target those areas that they're weakness in, and try to get them into the program as fast as possible. Then they go through, as part of the 360 hours, is a contextualized math, which is focused on those skills that are necessary to successfully complete that CNC. They go and complete the 360-hour course. They can get additional certifications out of that, which is the OSHA first aid and forklift certifications. Then they also target soft skills, resume writing, mock interviews. We bring employers in, and they actually have interviews at the end of the training, and that leads to job placement and potentially going on to a one-year certificate as well. And what we've done so far, 5 cohorts since the fall of 2010. Those are the enrollments that you see up there, over about a 92% completion of those enrolled, and a little over 72% of those placed in employment. They range from $10 to $19.50. The $10, basically somebody comes in an apprentice for 90 days and then is able to move up with the company. And those $19.50 are students that impressed enough the employer that they started them off as a CNC machinist right away, plus the other benefits that are listed there. Some of the challenges we had are listed there, and that's all. Thank you.
Questions? I have a couple of questions based on the comments that Dr. Mwazi made at the beginning. Why are we still relying on the GED as an important benchmark towards getting people employable and trained?
Well, for us, some of the employers do require that, even though maybe that's not a big deal. I mean, that's just one of their policies. So that's one of the things. I mean, because if it gives the students a better opportunity for employment. If you have some that do and some that don't, you're going to cut down their chances for employment on those, at least the CNC part of it. And the other thing for us is, anyway, on some of these programs like we're mentioning, we use some of the money to do advising and what have you from the ABEIG, but there's other grant monies that are leveraged, and that grant itself required that the students have that GED before they could access that training and not have to pay for it.
So let me ask a very quick, I'm sorry, you want to respond?
Yes. At our institution, they do allow the students to be enrolled prior to completing their GED. So the goal is by the time they finish a 16-week program, remember I said they were also meeting in their GED prep classes for 4 hours, so they're in class pretty much 8 hours a day. So by the end of that 16 weeks, they pass the GED. So it's not a linear model. It happens simultaneously.
In our case at TSTC, in order to take the national certification exam, requires a GED.
Okay.
I'm sorry. That there are a number of issues here, one of which is employers use the GED as a screening tool for a set of academic skills that they're looking for. And so part of it is having a conversation about additional ways we can demonstrate these students have those academic skills without the GED, so that's not a barrier. But increasingly, especially at the federal level, going in the wrong direction with new Pell regulations that are removing the ability of students, that ability to benefit clause, so that students can't get into these programs without a GED or a high school credential. getting a GED is unfortunately going to become more important because otherwise students won't be able to get financial aid, federal financial aid, and support their participation in these programs. So I think the work that these grantees are doing is actually helping look at how to accelerate some GED attainment, even as we try to look at how to push back on those federal regulations, which are going to really limit opportunities for a number of students who don't have a high school credential.
It would help if we could. Are there ways that we can make passing the GED more reliant on competency rather than seat time or class time? Is that can we truncate?
I think we can. I mean, the more that I mean, it's critical to assess their deficiencies. If you can individualize that plan, that's how you're going to do that, right? Yeah.
Looking at more fast-track GED strategies so that they're not sitting there for one or two semesters. Many students can get a GED much more quickly if we focus, as you said, on the particular deficiencies they have.
What's the average in your programs? How long are students in your program per day? You said, I think you said 8 hours.
4 of the hours was in the Korean technical training program, and then the other 4 hours was in the ESL or in the GED program. Right.
We've experimented with a variety of hours. This semester we're going to have students in class 32 hours a week. That's not going to work for every student, though. Some of them have to work, so we've also done 8 hours a week. And we're trying to be flexible, looking at our population and looking at their needs to schedule those classes.
But obviously, students that are unemployed, they can go to school in concentrated schedules, and we could accelerate their time to actually being employable.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I was wondering how you went about selecting the career programs that you did.
In our region, we used the information from our local workforce board on the occupations that were in high demand.
Mm-hmm.
Those two.
We did that as well, but we also talked to our instructors and found out what people were getting employed in. In our area, phlebotomy is not a high employment area, but CNA is. But it's not on our workforce solutions or list of high demand occupations. But in that specific area, there's a high concentration of hospitals, nursing homes, and rehabilitation centers. So.
Good. Any other questions or comments?
Well, I'd just like to add that it's really encouraging and exciting to see that there's some accelerated ways that we can, get folks to employment and employment with a living wage. My agency is the Department of Assistive and Rehabilitative Services, and so one of the programs that we operate is the Vocational Rehabilitation Program, which helps get people with disabilities to work. And the average age of the consumer that we see is, we serve about 100,000 Texans with disabilities a year, and the average age is about 35 years old, and about 38% of those individuals have less than a high school diploma, or a high school degree. So, it's real important for us to, and to our consumers, obviously, to help them get to a sustainable employment, as soon as possible. And I know that, historically, that's taken longer than I think any of us would want, for that to take. So congratulations on your programs, and exciting to hear about.
We really need programs that are more competency-based so that we can I think there's a growing body of research that shows we rely too much on credentials and not sufficiently on demonstrated excellence in skill sets that make people employable. And that there are an awful lot of adults who have skills but not necessarily have the educational credential, and to the extent that we can remove credential barriers without without diminishing the skill set that these individuals have. I think that would be a step forward. I would really like to go into the next legislative session, which by all indications will be tough, in a budgetary sense, with some success stories that these programs are successful in leading directly to jobs. That's what we need to demonstrate. And that's one reason we've got to demonstrate a much stronger connection between what we do in higher education and people actually getting jobs across the spectrum, CTE jobs, jobs that require associate degrees and jobs that require baccalaureates and above. And we have to find ways to make sure higher education is more responsive to what workforce needs. This is exciting. Thank you very much. Any closing questions or comments? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We are at the end. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Thank you very much.